The recording is in progress.
All right, thank you very much, Andrew. So as always, to acknowledge those that came before us on this land, I do want to start the day by saying a land acknowledgement. So we begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples, and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources, and we're committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on here in the Greater Toronto Area is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples, and is now home to many diverse peoples. We'd also like to acknowledge the land we are on is at the meeting place of two treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We thank them and other Indigenous peoples for sharing this land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. One thing I wanted to do, actually before I start my presentation, was a new little segment here where I wanted to acknowledge some of the events that are coming up, important events this week and next. Is actually the first one being World Interfaith Harmony Week, which takes place from the 1st to the 7th of February, 2022. And so I'm going to open the chat here, and I'm going to put this information in about World Interfaith Harmony Week, which is actually a UN resolution for a worldwide week of interfaith harmony proposed in 2010 by King Abdullah II and Prince Ghazi bin Muhammad of Jordan, where the World Interfaith Harmony Week falls in the first week of February of every year and aims to promote harmony between all people, regardless of their faith. But in the chat as well, before our next IGU Summit is World Wetlands Day. So World Wetlands Day is actually on Wednesday, February 2nd, with World Wetlands Day 2022 celebrated again on February 2nd, aiming to raise awareness, global awareness about the vital role of wetlands for people and planet. Today also marks the date of the adoption of the Convention on Wetlands on the 2nd of February 1971 in the Iranian city of Ramsar on the shores of the Caspian Sea. So I will now share my screen for everybody. Second here. Slideshow start. Zoom. And just somebody let me know when they do see this. And I'm hoping that everybody is seeing this now.
Yes.
Okay, yes, excellent, thank you. So as always, as I do these presentations, I start by giving recognition to our supporters and sponsors, in particular Andrew Networks, which has replaced EDFU Foundation as our primary sponsor of the Global Unity Network Weekly Thursday Zoom calls, which now last and continue to December 29th, 2022. With Andrew Networks also rebroadcasting any production-ready episodes on the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board Goodwill Ambassador AHIABGA.org domain, which are being redirected to UCIT-TV site. Oops. I seem to have somewhere, sorry about this, I just seem to have lost my controls for the chat window. It's no longer visible on my screen, and I don't seem to be able to find it. Okay, this is one of those glitches where I'm looking.
You may have to stop your screen sharing, and then you'll see all your controls. That may help you, Lloyd.
Mhm.
The last
Oh, okay,
agenda.
no, so it was hidden at the top. It self hides. So okay, so it was just hidden at the top, and I need to just move my mouse to where it says stop share, and it just falls down. Okay, anyway, so what you see on this page are various logos of our partners, including I'd like to mention the Maui Aloha Project, the 5 Points Youth Foundation, the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Future the Foundation, the Global Women's Development Network, Global Peace Let's Talk, the Community Development Foundation, the American International Federation, or Education Federation, and the EdFood Foundation, and many more as well. So let me just go ahead and put that into the chat just so people have those links again to the organizations that we are affiliated with. But first of all, I wanted to mention Andrew Networks as our primary sponsor supporting the promotional ecosystem for the Global Unity Network Initiative, again through to December 29th, 2022. And it is Andrew Networks that donates our hosting and promotional support services. So Andrew Networks being a brand and domain name owned by RXTC Export Trading Company, comprising of the various social media channels, including TRN TV, Universal Citizens Media Networks, Conversations with Andrew Williams Jr., and many more. So Andrew also founded the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Advocates, and Activists in September 2019, with this focus on localizing the Sustainable Development Goals during this decade of action and delivery on the SDGs, 2020 to 2030, and later appointed me as Ad Hoc International Advisory Board representative for Canada, La Francophonie, and the Commonwealth of Nations countries, and published it on January 1st, 2020. So my appointment as a representative for Turtle Island was also added later last year, 2021. So my name is Lloyd Hooper, Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, and Sustainable Society Consultant for Energy University, which is headquartered in Manhattan, New York, although I am located in the city of Markham in the Greater Toronto area in Southern Ontario, Canada. Energy University is a private company that's created to help empower global populations to reestablish a sustainable balance in their local environments. Energime does this by designing and implementing projects that support a strong and diversified local economy while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into these communities in the areas of renewable energy, high density food growth, managing local waste streams, and protecting local water resources. So Energime is actually supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies they employ. Importantly, Energime University also supports local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of these various integrated solutions for achieving closed-loop systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. So, as mentioned, I'm also the co-founder and administrator of the We Energime Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization that is seeking to undertake life value peace education in the context of life learning gardens. Oops, a bit slow here. My computer is giving me one of those little signals that says waiting, waiting, waiting. Okay, hopefully it'll work. There we go. So as noted earlier, I was also designated as a Global Goodwill Ambassador for the 5 Points Youth Foundation in Los Angeles, with a portfolio that covers Canada, La Francophonie, the Commonwealth of Nations, and Turtle Island communities as a member of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, which is seeking to empower our communities to engage with royal, Indigenous, and tribal leadership as well as interfaith neighborhood and business collaboratives, which are seeking to leave no one behind. Actually, interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives. So again, I will put into the chat some of the links to these related organizations that you see on the screen here. So I'm also co-founder of the Global Unity Business Group, which came together as a coalition of small businesses in order to establish, manage, and grow what we call the Global Unity Network. With the Global Unity Business Group being a humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable and regenerative development corporation, supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source, regenerative, climate smart infrastructure set up as Life Learning Gardens, along with a hybrid virtual learning platform that we call VCN, or Interchange4Peace. So the Global Unity Business Group was created in order to formalize this process of localization of global goals, starting with the SDGs, which is being done by the establishment of this Global Unity Network, which so far includes Unity Gardens Network, Unity Learning Network, and many other dedicated Unity networks, all being important components of this network of networks, as we call it. So I wanted to note that the existing social media, WhatsApp and Facebook and LinkedIn groups that we're using right now are really being used as a placeholder as we build our global network and prepare to launch. And we will eventually get all of the people, companies, and nodes of our network onto this VCN, where they'll be able to gain access to many tools and services that are available there, and where they can much more easily collaborate in order to implement these globally coordinated real-world projects. Again, I'm putting information into the chat as I go. So the Global Unity Network was created to showcase global cooperation for the implementation of the local regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So our goal is to help uplift the traditionally marginalized communities that are mostly being left behind, because the existing economic paradigm is very much focused on making money for those who already are wealthy by extracting resources through the exploitation, often over-exploitation of people in the natural world. And therefore, the majority of people on Earth are mostly being ignored by our existing highly competitive economy. So our focus is thus on the billions of people who exist or subsist on the economic sidelines, where we intend to start our work by delivering solutions for people and communities in some of the least developed countries, communities, and local economies that are in particular most food insecure. So the Global Unity Network is promoting the delivery of practical solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with these Sustainable Development Goals during this SDG period until 2030. So we are focused on using 3 tools. One, the humanitarian entrepreneurship, focusing on female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs and enterprises. 2, using hybrid virtual and hands-on education and training or learning programs and platforms with a primary focus on delivering the humanitarian entrepreneurship, skills training, and practical settings, or practicum learning, along with leveraging various open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions to remotely assist local INABC teams to establish local open source Unity Garden classrooms in all local communities around the world. So these Unity Garden classrooms are set up in conjunction with existing schools in local communities and can be used for the local and remote or virtual delivery of the practicum learning programs for the FFHE, as we call them, to learn how to grow, process, cook, market, sell, and trade the various types of regenerative climate smart food and related nutritional and medicinal and other types of locally produced regenerative products, both within their own local communities, as well as regionally, nationally, continentally, and even internationally or globally, in order to produce income and therefore greater prosperity in their local communities and for all the people on all continents, with the intention, of course, of leaving no one behind. So as we also promote through our virtual social marketing, all of the members of our network. So we use all of the various practical social media networking and trade tools, including those of the modern Fourth Industrial Revolution. Combining this with the wisdom of crowds, along with the deep Indigenous knowledge of both our ancestors and the living Indigenous people of this earth, in order to learn from each other about how to share the abundance of this planet, and in order to create productive, regenerative, climate-smart landscapes wherever we may live, in and around each of our own local communities. So our intention is that also to help restore nature and biodiversity, and to ensure abundance for all, and ultimately to restore the human connection to Mother Earth as proper stewards of our one and only beautiful planet. I have been chat about our Unity Biodiversity Network in particular. The Global Unity Network, virtual collaborative network, this hybrid learning model that we are developing will be delivered through both the Unity Gardens for hands-on experiential practical learning, as well as through a digital VCN that bundles all of the various functions of the individual websites into a single site, or this collaborative portal that allows for all of the digital virtual learning to be delivered alongside the place where e-commerce can also take place. So in other words, it's like an all-in-one platform for trade, commerce, and learning bundled into this single site. So the VCN uses what's called a digital collaborator engine intended to turbocharge the network exchange, trade, and education delivery capabilities of and for the members of the network. It's also called a PXN, or Partner Ecosystem Exchange. Digital collaboration technology will help organizations in 6 areas of digital transformation, especially in the areas of leadership, digital strategy, customer intimacy, business service design, agile transformation, and doing health check analysis of their organization. So we actually believe that the VCN platform can help every organization become an agile organization for the 21st century, helping them to move beyond the current health pandemic. So the VCN is actually intended to be a stepping stone toward this new vision of the internet called the metaverse, which of course, with the renaming of Facebook to this new corporate name Meta, is getting a lot of attention, but it is a very important adaptation or change in the way internet will be delivered to everybody worldwide. So the business group is managing this Global Unity Network geographically by helping to create these localized country, regional, and continental UnityNet local business development networks, which serve to manage the local and community networks. So the regional and continental Unity Network organizations organize themselves according to the concepts of a principle called sociocracy, and will assist communities in each country to establish these local and regional community engagement teams called INAB collaboratives, or INABCs, Interfaith, Neighborhood, Academic, and Business Collaboratives. So the primary purpose of the business and the network is to promote this ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassador process of localization of the global goals, specifically by promoting the processes that can help local communities to establish partnerships as per SDG 17 that will support local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are dedicated to implementing the various local regenerative community-based enterprise solutions for achieving the global goals. So I wanted to talk about the purpose of the Global Unity Network in more detail. So our main purpose for the Global Unity Network country chapters is essentially to use this ad hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals, which is a specific community engagement process in order to assist local communities to establish and maintain these local and regional interfaith, neighborhood, academic, and business collaboratives, the INAB collaboratives, in each local community, according to the multi-stakeholder HEPTA matrix partnership template shown here. So for example, the partnership between Drawdown Markham CSO and the 5 Points Youth Foundation NGO is done through the We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization, whose mandate is to deliver life value peace education within the context of life learning gardens. which we call Unity Gardens. So under the framework of cooperation that is created or was created, rather than just looking at individual projects on a one-by-one basis, the Global Unity Network is being created to establish a global support network, which helps to establish these local support networks of professionals in each local community where the projects are to be implemented. And where ultimately the design and the assessments of the projects are not to be done by people who are remote to the communities or projects or living outside of them, but rather by the trusted people who are living closest to the projects, including especially the beneficiaries of those projects, who are currently the most marginalized in those communities. Second here, just to update my screen. So our goals are also, of course, to support and uplift people in marginalized communities through the delivery of these learning programs, the practical hands-on education and training, and to promote all of the youth and female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs around the world who either have or wish to implement these replicable regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals. So we focus on regenerative solutions that can be localized one community at a time, starting in the least developed countries, communities, and economies, by working with people who have been most forgotten and marginalized, especially with the intention of leaving no one behind. I've been of information about what is this concept of open source hardware. Our philosophy is that machines are not the economy. People doing things is what makes an economy. And so if we can lift people out of poverty, or better yet, empower them to lift themselves from poverty, we'll have automatically injected new life into the global economy. So the goal of the Global Unity Network is therefore lifting or uplifting the bottom billions. So our ultimate goal being teaching people how to feed themselves the climate smart way. We would think of the old saying, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, and feed him for a lifetime. The Global Unity Network is about teaching, especially women and youth, to fish so they no longer need to be fed the next day when they're hungry again. So we're also focused on promoting and demonstrating only open source solutions, as in open source regenerative climate smart food growing infrastructure, set up as these Unity Garden classrooms at and with the schools, including universities, colleges, high schools. So I can send anyone who wishes to read more a 4-page PDF document that describes the Global Unity Network in more detail. So one of our key programs is actually called the CTP program, the Collaborative Tree Planting Program. So the CTP program is being created in order to help enable local management of and adaptation to long-term social, economic, and planetary impacts, and to help create these legacy forests for people, biodiversity, and the planet, as well as to help secure energy and food resources, climate resilience, and poverty alleviation. So we aim to teach people about how they can implement the various rural and urban holistic sustainability infrastructure that we're promoting. Will help to deliver this knowledge to people who are in local communities throughout the network. So the learning programs of our network partners will be delivered using the lens of what's called humanitarian entrepreneurship, education and training programs, especially again for youth, educators and decision makers of all kinds. So through our programs, local communities come together to create these INAB collaboratives through the commemorative tree plantings that are part of what's called the 400 and 800 year anniversary Tree of Peace and Reconciliation ceremonial initiative, many of which have already been had taken place in cities and communities around the world, actually since late 2019. So the original twinned Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree plantings, first one took place here in Canada, in Pickering, again in 2020 in Bermuda. They were actually a precursor to these ongoing tree plantings that are part of this social enterprise arrangement with Forest Nation and their You Plant, We Plant program through the We Energon Global Corporation Turtle Island organization, which is working closely with the Plant for the Planet organization which intends actually to plant 1 trillion trees around the world in the next few decades. So we are actually supporting and work in partnership also with the Unity programs of the local Unity Network organizations that have been established and continue to be established around the world that deliver various projects, campaigns, and events, such as these Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting ceremonies, along with the Sunlight Spectacle virtual edutainment shows and events, and of course these Indigenous Global Unity Summit series events, which will continue to take place until the end of this year, along with the coordinated international bubble fun festivals delivered by PodNet members. Importantly, I wanted to mention that we are also working in support of the expansion of the Global Women's Development Network, where I'm asking everybody as well to please register to participate in the Global Unity or the International Women's Day Conference that will take place later this year from March 4th to 8th, 2022. And I am putting in some information about that event into the chat for people to register. And in particular, this last link is probably the most important one. So as noted, we are supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure set up as life learning gardens, designed for the delivery of hands-on practical learning programs supporting all manner of what's called life value peace education. So these gardens include what's called CSV gardens, victory forests, climate smart kitchens, spark learning centers, or climate smart education and training centers, as well as wheel of life farms and farm schools. Again, I will put into the chat some of the links to these various networks. So our projects include what's called the Sacred Site and Watershed Mapping Project, the CTP program, which I mentioned earlier, collaborative tree planting initiative for twinning communities, along with collaboration for the development of a system of payments for ecosystem services for certified climate smart products that help to permanently sequester carbon and that are made by these humanitarian enterprises that are helping to implement these global solutions or local solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the SDGs. So some of the other key campaigns include a Dream Boards in Every Community campaign to establish what's called community dream boards, where we help to mobilize the youth and help turn their dreams into reality, along with a tea diplomacy initiative that connects local farmers, growers, and entrepreneurs across geographies and among members of communities that may not otherwise ever get a chance to talk to each other and get to know each other as people. So the idea with the tea diplomacy initiative is to sit down, even if only virtually, have tea, relax, and discuss these local solutions to global problems like food security, hunger, climate change, the environment, peace, security, and the well-being of people and the environments in which each of our own communities members live. So people who participate in these tea diplomacy initiatives would discuss what kinds of teas they like to drink, what healthy foods they like to eat while drinking their tea, and discussing what unique teas they grow in their own local communities and regions, and the importance of these teas to their local people and cultures. One thing I did want to mention this time around was that tea doesn't necessarily need to be just sort of the green tea type of Chinese tea, but it could be herbal teas and different types of teas that are made from different plants and different leaves, roots, barks. All of these things can be brewed as well. So our first Continental Unity Network Development Network is actually the UnityNet Africa and Diaspora. It's intended to be a safe space for cooperative discussion with others in the Global Unity Network as we develop a continental network for all the people of Africa and for eventual replication across all other countries worldwide, starting with these least developed countries, communities, and economies. So the initial board of directors for the African Continental Network is shown on this slide. The new board of directors also confirmed an official advisory board. Carlos Richard Sanko from UnityNet Sierra Leone is the new continental president, and Dr. Mary Ifeanyi from Nigeria is the new vice continental president. So Sierra Leone, being one of the oldest Global Unity Network chapters, has 10 trees of peace and reconciliation, which they already planted in communities across the country, which now serve as a precursor to the creation of the local INAB collaboratives and the establishment of the Unity Garden classroom infrastructure. So the new board of directors of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, if you look here, put together in a way to represent the 6 regions of Africa, and the selection process being made to try to achieve gender balance of the board, ensuring about half of the board members and leaders were women, again, as per SDG 5 gender equality. And African team is working in cooperation with the existing Global Unity Network country chapters across Africa to create a model for the development of the continental and regional network of networks by working with these grassroots people in the country chapters, with the African model eventually wanting to be replicated in order to create the country chapters across all 55 countries in Africa, and also to establish a formal dialogue and connection with the African Union. But the African success, not just being for Africa, it's also being used as a template for other countries, other continents around the world, where we focus our efforts, as always, of course, on the least developed countries, communities, and economies, and those communities that are being furthest left behind. Again, I will put in a little bit of links that you're seeing on the screen into the chat. So we are also planning to link the North American, Turtle Island, and African agendas across time and space. Linking our programs together in a way that makes sense by developing what we're calling this reverse CTP program, modeled on the original CTP program developed by Drawdown Markham in late 2019. So the business group has its home in Canada, but with strong support and involvement from Sierra Leone, Kenya, and the United States. We'd also like to, for everyone on this call, to consider joining one or more of the following groups that are also critical to the Global Unity Network, including the main social media discussion group that's created the Global Unity Business Group, and is, as noted, a humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable and regenerative development corporation supporting and promoting the local delivery of this open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure, set up as these life learning gardens, or Unity gardens, as we call them. So I would like to mention some of the other critical nodes of the Global Unity Network, including especially the Regenerative Living Lifestyle, Living, Learning, and Lifestyle Network, the Unity Learn Network, the Unity Health Network, Eco Village Network, Indigenous Global Unity Network, which is related to this series today, as well as the Unity Environment Network, Unity Biodiversity Network, a Peace Centers Network, a Children and Youth Network, a Smart Communities and Cities Network, a Social Business Network, a Climate Smart Tourism Network, aligning with the Tourism for SDGs mandate, a new Women's and Feminist Network for our humanitarian entrepreneur business owners and managers to really exchange tips, tricks, and ideas among themselves and develop their own local relationships, along with a number of other critical networks and nodes. Most recently, we did create a Unity Water Network that was established and designed to address all of the various water sustainability issues that are related to the achievement of the global goals, as we attempt to transition to a regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. Along with the new water network, we've also established a global net zero team, supporting the creation of a campaign for globalization of the global goals, where we're focused on cities. We're attempting to achieve especially the net zero ambitions. So we'll very likely focus our attention on the C40 Cities Network through a proposed partnership between an organization called GHH, the UN Global Compact, the C40 Cities Network and the C4 group for all of the people in all the cities of the world who are members of the C40, but especially also for every marginalized person in every city, country, and local community and economy on Earth, including, of course, all the Africans and all the Indigenous people of the world. So this is a local project of UnityNet GTA. It's also being coordinated together with the founder of the Indigenous Unity Flag, whose cousin is actually a famous hip hop artist here in Toronto. So again, I'm putting in a little bit more information about some of these groups into the chat so people will be able to access and join these various networks that I just mentioned. So the Global Unity Network is being created to promote everyone equally who is willing to work together with us in solidarity toward the achievement of the global goals, and not just for the success of their own business. So within the Global Unity Network, the health of people and planet must be placed front and center. But the first purpose of the Global Unity Network is to help establish these global network of local INAB collaboratives. So those are the essence of this network. So wanted to note the new name, Interfaith Neighborhood Academic and Business Collaboratives, or INAB collaboratives, as per this HEPTA matrix partnership template, which is shown on this slide. As well, the Global Unity Network has a specific focus on this area of development, which is the hybrid, virtual, and hands-on practical education and training in the context of and for regenerative development solutions, for which we intend to assist people in local communities to build and demonstrate at least one of the 5 different regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions for their own local communities, in collaboration with the existing local learning institutions. So it's intended that these Unity Garden solutions will at minimum be able to address at least 2 of the Sustainable Development Goals, the first being SDG 2, Zero Hunger, and the second being SDG 13, Climate Action. In the chat, I have some information about these 2 goals. So, however, we are building a global network. It does cut across all areas of humanitarian entrepreneurship learning as they relate to the implementation of the various local solutions for achieving the global goals, and that are related to our even more specific focus on climate smart food and related regenerative development solutions that will help humanity to move beyond the Sustainable Development Goals and into a new era of regenerative development, however that might ultimately be defined post-2030. So we're starting the conversation now, about 8 years ahead of the inevitable transition to whatever the next phase of the global goals is, so post-2030, where the SDGs are now this second phase of this Millennium Development Project to achieve peace on Earth in a way that leaves no one behind. So the larger Millennium Development Project actually intends that all of humanity can be uplifted and empowered to achieve their highest potential. So I put the chat time a reference to the chart Maslow's hierarchy of needs, as well as a link to some information about what it means for regenerative development. So on this complicated graphic here, you'll see that the Unity Network, Africa and Diaspora, the very first continental chapter of the Global Unity Network, was created with other continental chapters in the planning stages in order to facilitate the establishment of the country chapters of the Global Unity Network on the specific continents or geographical jurisdictions where each continental chapter has responsibility. So the country chapters are being created in order to facilitate the establishment of these local INAB collaboratives, these interfaith, neighborhood, academic, and business collaboratives at the local level in each community. So the INAB collaboratives are established at the local level, where we are leveraging this process we've created, the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassador community engagement, which starts with the planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation, tree planting ceremonies, followed by these ongoing community engagement and interaction events. These regular events that happen throughout the year, including the coordinated bubble fun festivals, done in collaboration with the local INABC members, the CTP program for twinning community activities, such as community organized tree plantings or the local regenerative public community infrastructure development projects and events, the Tea Diplomacy Initiative, as I described earlier, the Dream Boards Initiative, done in collaboration with the C4 group members, identical in promoting the globalization of the global goals and the regenerative economy during any one of our periodic summit spectacle or other edutainment events that may take place as part of the activities in the context of the CSV Gardens and the Victory Forests and the Climate Smart Kitchens and the Wheel of Life Farms and the Spark Learning Centers, these Climate Smart Learning Centers that are intended to be delivered eventually by the PodNet Co-op. So I will, again, put in some information to the chat. But I wanted to mention as well that the Unity Gardens of the Global Unity Network actually encourage what we call co-learning or intercultural collaboration, what is called two-eyed seeing. So Unity Gardens are places where children are taught that no one being is greater than the next, that we are part and parcel of the whole, that we are equal, that each one of us has a responsibility to the balance of the system and has an understanding that all of the world's species and all of our bio and eco kin have contributions to make. So I wanted to point you as well to the what's called two-eyed seeing or a Tuapt Monk guiding principle of intercultural collaboration at the websites that I am placing into the chat as well. Importantly, I do want to mention the 4K clubs. On November last year, we did establish 2 new discussion groups within the Global Unity Network, including the first being the Global Unity 4K Clubs Network, which was established with Susan Wausi-Yego from Kenya and Ambassador Dr. Mary Solanke from Nigeria, where the members of this network will begin the process of organizing the development of some standard learning modules that can be customized and aligned to local school curriculum, and where these modules are to be delivered in the context of the Unity Gardens by the members and partners of the local INAB collaboratives that have been established in each local community, where the Unity Network continental, country, and regional chapters have been established. I will put in again a link to the 4K Clubs Network. The other second one, important one, is the Unity or the Tukitane EV Germany conversation that we had late last year initiated this preliminary discussion about the establishment of Tukitane EV Canada as an NGO, which is already delivering the Tukitane Women Empowerment Program in Africa. So in Canada, we'd like to establish Tukitane EV Canada NGO in order to apply the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals in our local communities, so that we can establish these local or local CSOs, those INAB collaboratives, which are the local organizations that will be delivering the local or the Global Unity 4K Club learning programs that help to uplift youth and FFHE intergenerationally and across geographies, and really to help bridge the gap between urban and rural in order to achieve the objectives of delivering quality education through partnerships. So through Tukitane EV Canada, we also will be assisting our colleagues in Germany to establish a UnityNet continental chapter in Europe, which will focus their efforts on supporting homeless and displaced people, such as economic conflict or climate migrants coming into Europe. So I think to chat a little bit about Kitana, Germany, and Zambia. I wanted to mention as well the Children and Youth Network, because one of the reasons for establishing the UnityNet Children and Youth Network was really to support and establish a pool of experts for those who are organizing the Global Unity Climate Smart Youth Forum, hybrid virtual and in-person event that we'd like to take place as a key part of the Global Unity Network yearly activities, which this year has been offered to take place during the Lagos Peace Awards ceremonies hosted by Yeli International in Nigeria, in partnership with UnityNet Nigeria, and of course with the support of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, culminating actually on World Food Day, October 16th, 2022. So I wanted to note that the Climate Smart Youth Forum Week happens during the 13 days between October 4th, Global Cooperation Day, and October 16th, World Food Day, with the events and activities and programs, contributions taking place in or coming from any country during that period of time, and where presentations and activities can be recorded and delivered remotely to all people who are members of the Global Unity Network through this Interchange4Peace VCN. So the primary host this year is UnityNet Nigeria, since they did a pre-launch event last year on the same date. Dr. Amadou Monday Avenue from Yeli International, the Youth Education and Leadership Initiative, will be working with these teams in Nigeria in cooperation with other members of the Global Unity Network and the UnityNet Africa and Diaspora to launch this first of what we hope will become a Global Unity Network annual event that happens every year in at least one country of the world during the days between Global Cooperation Day and World Food Day. So again, I will put in links to this Children and Youth Network. So during Global Climate Smart Youth Forum Week, we are proposing that the local INAP collaboratives, if they are ready to do so, can, if they have a local plan to do so, participate in the Global Coordinated Community Tree Planting Campaign to establish 3D polyculture food forests in local communities across Africa and around the world, where these communities can also begin establishing what's called the Victory Forest Unity Gardens. So these also serve as sacred spaces in our local communities in collaboration with at least one or more local learning institutions, where the Unity Gardens would be configured for the delivery of the various Global Unity 4K Club humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs to all of the local youth and FFHE in that specific local community. So the Unity Garden sacred spaces are established in local communities through the twin planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation that are to take place on World Environment Day, which is June 5th, during what we call the Abraham Project, Tree of Peace and Reconciliation Showcase Project for Global Cooperation, as an event that will be designed for establishing these global network of local INAB collaboratives, so the Interfaith, Neighborhood, Academic, and Business collaboratives in every local community that participates, again, through the CTP program, or what we call the reverse CTP program. So the intent of the entire campaign is to actually establish these Global Unity Network Unity Gardens in every local community around the world, in support especially of Canada's promise to plant 2 billion trees, as well as the Great Green Wall Initiative in Africa. So the $100 million or 100 million tree plantation that was launched in 2007 by the African Union, as described, as they describe it, as a game-changing African-led initiative that aims to restore Africa's degraded landscapes and transform millions of lives in one of the world's poorest regions, the Sahel. But our goal actually is bigger than that. Not only is this a private sector initiative that does not rely on taxpayer money to do it, we're also aiming to plant 15 billion trees in local communities across Africa, established as Victory Forest Unity Gardens with as many of these gardens established as we can over the next 8 years. But of course, with these yearly tree planting campaigns continuing into the next phase of the global goals post-2030, at least up until the year 2063, in alignment with the African Union's Agenda 2063. So the task of the UnityNet Africa and Diaspora in this year, at least, with the help of the rest of the members of the Global Unity Network, will be to finish out the details of the plans and bring it to the Executive Council of the African Union so that all of the countries and governments and civil society organizations, and especially the businesses across Africa and around the world can begin to get behind this large plan. So again, I put in to the chat some information that is relevant to what we are trying to achieve. So I wanted to mention all that we need, all of us need to be open to learning from each other and get the best of all wisdoms so that we can come to a healthy middle ground and a place that will hopefully have all of us emerge in a world that benefits the maximum number of people and the maximum number of species and environments that we live in. And where we must learn to live in harmony, not just with ourselves, but also with all of nature as well. What the Indigenous people of Turtle Island actually refer to as all our relations, i.e. all of the other living things on this planet from which our bodies are constructed through the patterns created by the instructions in each of our individual DNA. Thus, all of the members of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board are attempting to rewrite this playbook on how to engage with all people around the world by helping to uplift all of humanity and move us beyond the era of colonialism. So it is a large project, big project of our lifetimes, a huge challenge for an entire generation, especially of young people around the world to try and achieve by working together with our elders and in solidarity with all others, including Indigenous people. I believe we can deal with these issues of climate change, biodiversity loss, and soil fertility losses, and desertification, and population pressures, and peak oil, and land use pressures, deforestation, things like the peak phosphorus, health crises like COVID-19, which is ongoing, disinformation, misinformation era that we're in, which is also filled with corruption. So there's also the issue of waste management and pollution, which is actually causing some of the most widespread contamination of our ecosystems that we have seen worldwide, including, of course, the CO2 emissions from burning fossil fuels, the plastics pollution, along with these toxics that are being deliberately applied to our living environments. Those chemicals that are used now in industrial farming, like glyphosate and antibiotics, which literally means anti-life chemicals designed to kill life forms, mostly the microbiome, which is what actually keeps us alive if we think of what's in our guts and allows us to digest food. So this is why our Global Unity Network is actually seeking to help uplift marginalized people such that we can work together to teach the next generation of young people how they can feed the world through systems that keep us healthy and develop and leverage our activities so that we can undertake these local businesses that will help to restore the environment, including tackling and adapting to climate change, but done through the lens of food and humanitarian entrepreneurship as well. So I wanted to put again the Regenerative Learning and Living Lifestyle Network link into the chat. So the Global Unity Network is, as this slide indicates, inclusive of everyone's networks insofar as we agree to uplift and promote each other and each other's good work. So we're doing three main things, helping people in local communities create local INAB collaboratives through this ad hoc international advisory board process of globalization of global goals. And then we help to facilitate the localized delivery of the regenerative economy learning programs that others have developed and which are done through the Unity Learning Network to, for, and by the members of the INAB collaboratives worldwide. And finally, we promote everyone who's willing to work together with us in solidarity toward the practical and necessary achievement of the global goals. So the Global Unity Network being a network of networks, inclusive of everyone's network, but only if they agree to uplift and promote each other and each other's good work, and not only to place themselves at the center. I wanted to mention as well the collaborative events we'd like to do in 2022 that are related to the activities of the Global Unity 4K Clubs Network, the Unity Gardens Network, and the Unity Eco Village Network, along with the Unity Biodiversity Network. So the first is the globally coordinated AHIABGA Project, Tree of Peace and Reconciliation Showcase Project for Global Cooperation, delivered locally in multiple local communities by the members of the Global Unity Network on World Environment Day, Sunday, June 5th, 2022, in about 5 months from now, which will allow us to begin establishing a global network of local INBCs or INABCs. So these will lead the way at the local level everywhere around the world to undertaking these various globally coordinated events that we plan to do during the rest of the year. So the second event is a globally coordinated Bubble Fun Festival event that will be designed to allow youth and families to have fun while they learn about the miraculous properties of bubbles and how to use these bubbles to allow humanity to more easily adapt and perhaps even to thrive in a warming and changing global climate, especially in those areas of the world where the impacts of global warming and climate change will be felt the most severely, including here in Canada, especially in the north and in mountainous areas, as well as in places like sub-Saharan Africa and South and Southeast Asia. Some possible dates for these globally coordinated community bubble fun festivals include August 9th, the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, which is also actually the International Day of Solidarity with the struggle of women in South Africa and Namibia, or National Women's Day. Another date is August 12th, International Youth Day, and August 19th, World Humanitarian Day, potentially opening us up to having these local bubble fun festivals on any date between August 9th and August 19th, which is really an 11-day window. So the third event, other key events that we should take place include the Ubuntu Summit, a virtual event on October 4th, as we did last year, which is also the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi and the Blessing of the Animals Day, which are both celebrated by the Catholic faith communities. As well as the fourth event, a globally coordinated climate smart youth forum event that will, as mentioned, be designed to allow youth and families from around the world to learn about and discuss the various regenerative climate smart agriculture and food growing solutions that support especially achieving SDG 2, zero hunger, and local circular regenerative economies. So along with the learning more about the Climate Smart Food Program and all of the various components of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals and the smart virtual infrastructure, the Unity Gardens, and the Interchange4Peace that will allow local community INAB collaboratives to gain access to all of the learning programs, the information, the education, the training, and the related support programs, including financial support systems that we've been promoting through the Global Unity Network. And that will really allow local community members and families to implement these local regenerative climate smart humanitarian infrastructure and enterprise solutions in the context of their own neighborhoods and communities, wherever they might live in the world. Where the primary host, of course, of this Global Climate Smart Youth Forum Week 2022 event will be Yali International Nigeria, who will be working in partnership with UnityNet Nigeria, UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, and as many of the rest of the members of the Global Unity Network as possible, who may wish to actually contribute. I wanted to note as well that Yali International is divided into two arms. One is called Youth Education, and the second is their Leadership Initiative. So Yali International is managed by Dr. Monday Amadou from UnityNet Nigeria. And one more thing I will put into the chat, more information about all of these events and activities and networks. So the fifth event, final event, is what we call the Globally Coordinated Community Tree Planting event. So this is not finalized yet, but will be designed to establish these 3D polyculture food forests in local communities around the world. So we'd like to do this in all of the local communities where any local Global Unity Network INAB collaborative has been established, and where the members of the local community partnerships wish to establish victory forest unity gardens that are designed for delivering the Global Unity learning programs. Organizations like Tukitana EV and their Women Empowerment Program, or the Global Unity 4K Club Humanitarian Entrepreneurship Learning Programs for educating and training women, youth, and other community members about the various ways of achieving food and nutrition security goals. So SDG 2 Zero Hunger goals at the local level. While also implementing some of the other global goals, such as the climate action goals of SDG 13, the biodiversity action goals of SDG 15, life on land goals, gender equality action goals, SDG 5 goals, the clean water action goals, SDG 6 goals, clean energy action goals, SDG 7 goals, the peace action goals, SDG 16 goals, the no poverty action goals, SDG 1, through their local community enterprises, and that also aim to leave no one behind. So this is where the last globally coordinated community victory forest unity garden tree planting events could potentially be done during actually the proposed Climate Smart Youth Forum Week, which would likely also include a hybrid in-person and virtual conference event.
Lloyd, your slides are not flowing. Are you aware of that?
Am I aware of what?
The last slide showing is planning for 2022. Is that the slide you want now?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I'm just finishing up. So I wanted to mention as well before I finish it up. I do not have time to produce, or I didn't have time to produce a slide for this, but I wanted to mention again. I did last week as well that we also have been offered to organize a side event during the 2022 Together Ensemble National Conference on the SDGs in Canada that takes place on March 4th, 2022. So we had an invitation from a gentleman by the name of John Beal, the manager of the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Canada, which is housed at the University of Waterloo here in Ontario. I had suggested to him as well that this side event can be done as a joint effort with possible contributions from UnityNet Canada, with the participation and leadership of Tukitana EV Canada NGO and others, along with UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, again with the support of Tukitana EV Canada, or EV Africa in Zambia, Uganda, Kenya, and others, along with UnityNet Europe, which we'd like to create via Tukitana EV Germany, and possibly also UnityNet South Asia and Diaspora, which we're hoping we can work with CDF Canada Partnership and or the Global Women's Development Network, along with finally the UnityNet Southeast Asia and Diaspora, which is to be determined whether we're going to be able to make that, but the creation of this continental chapters can be modeled on the African success story for establishing continental unity networks. So in summary, This humanitarian enterprise learning program that we are supporting are very much focused on engaging youth, educators, and decision makers in these learning programs and community engagement processes, with a strong emphasis on women and girls as leaders in their communities and also of their own homes and families, as per SDG 5 gender equality, with the goal of the business and the network to eventually establish a new 21st century economy of compassion and cooperation, and the recognition of life value as being fundamentally more important than money value, where money is just a fictional construct created by humans that helps us to make decisions about the most economic pathway to achieving certain outcomes, which are based on the goals that we individually and collectively set for ourselves as human beings. So the Global Unity Network that we're establishing is really a network that includes platforms for delivering this education, training, awareness raising, and allowing for open idea and cultural exchange programs is being managed by the Global Unity Business Group through a hybrid learning network we are creating that consists of the virtual collaborative network Interchange4Peace network through the social media, as well as implemented alongside the network of internet-enabled international Unity Gardens, which are in turn supported by the Unity Learning Network of educators who understand the importance of delivering programs of life value peace education in each of our own local communities. And I will put in, again, link to the Unity Learning Network. So this last slide, I show some sustainability guidelines. I wanted to leave this slide up on the screen to let people read this. These were provided by Mike Nickerson from the 7th Generation Initiative Sustainability Project. He's the author of the book called Life, Money, and Illusion, Living on Earth as If We Want to Stay. So on this final slide, I will just put in the chat.
Well, thank you so much, Lloyd. Your guest has appeared now and he's ready for the second presentation. However, as a means of separating the two, I'm going to briefly share my screen and then perhaps your guest can introduce himself. Also, I'm going to end the recording for this segment and then I'll begin again so that we can have a less editing to do. Hold on just one moment, please.
Okay, thank you. So as we're transitioning here, I want to also recognize our other guests on the call as well. And